Ryan Blaney may just be the most confusing elite driver in NASCAR. And I don't say that out of any disrespect for Blaney. He is a hell of a race car driver, and there's a reason why people see him as a championship threat year in and year out. But at the same time, there's also different intangibles, different stats, and different metrics that show Blaney isn't exactly the championship type the way someone like Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson or Joey Logano is. And it's really interesting to see. So today we're going to look at Ryan Blaney's career so far, some really noticeable stats and different facts about his career and some different situations he's had, and see what the deal is. Is he somebody who's vastly overrated, or is he somebody on the verge of a championship run? Let's get into it. Starting off, you of course have to look at just the raw career numbers. And when you look at them, you'll see something very apparent. When it comes to consistency, top 10s and top 5s, Blaney for most of his career has been ever improving. In 2016, for instance, he had 3 top 5s and 9 top 10s with an 18th place average. Not really great, but for a rookie campaign, especially for the Wood brothers at the time, not bad at all. And each year it would go up in numbers, whether it be top 5s, top 10s, or average. For instance, top 5s went from 3 to 4 to 8 to 3 straight years of 11 before having 12 in 2022. Top 10s went from 9 to 14 to 18. Before in 2020 going down to 17, and then in 2021 he had his best year yet with 20 top 10s, before again going to 17 in 2022. An average, he went from an 18.5 to a 17.3 to a 14.8 to a 13.7 in 2019, stayed about the same with a 13.8 the next year, and had an 11th place average finish in 2021, before going back to the mean of a 13.6 in 2022. Now, what do all of these numbers say? Well, to me, they say something really important. Blaney is a very good driver. Blaney is a driver who will be a top 10 threat, who runs in the top 10 and top 5. And from about 2016 to 2018, the top 10 threat was true, and he elevated his performance from 2019 to today. He's been a top 5 driver. Double-digit top 5s a year is not something to scoff at, and especially when you get up to 11 or 12, that is elite territory. So when it comes to speed, when he can deliver on it, Blaney is one of the best. With top 10s, though, that's a different story. Generally in a season, to be considered an unequivocally good or even great season, you have to have 20 or more top 10s. Many drivers have done this in the past, and many drivers have competed for championships under various systems with this many top 10s or a little more. But Blaney's only done this once. To me, what it says is that a lot of times just something will happen or he falls back from a good run. Because when you look at the averages, his average being at 11.9 in 2021, that's an elite level. But everything other than that, well, that's generally just a good level. A level of somebody who can sneak into the round of 8, but not good enough to get out of that round unless he gets a win. Something else that's really been big for Blaney in his career is stage points. Since the implementation of stage points in 2017, Ryan Blaney has never ranked lower than 9th among Cup drivers, and the lowest amount he had in a season was 226 in 2017. Well, the last couple years, he's really been amping those numbers up. In 2022, he had 290 total stage points, only 2 less than first place Chase Elliott. In 2020, he had 346, most of anybody. So Blaney is performing during races. It's the finishes that seem to be what's snagging him back. Again, part of the closing deal. Someone who's maddeningly fast, but for some reason cannot get it done right at the end, whether it's a pit call, driver error, bad luck, whatever it may be. And when you look at the last 10 races, Blaney actually did perform a lot better than he had in the regular season. In every one of the last 10 races, it saw Ryan Blaney finishing in the top 10 and or leading very good amounts of laps, meaning he had fast enough cars, But because of not getting the bonus points of stages and stage wins as much as he could have with wins, then he's behind the 8 ball. And in this system, that's the way the pendulum has swung, to the point that wins are almost OP when it comes to performance. Overall, this is also really shown by Blaney's closing ability. Over the last 10% of races, Ryan Blaney is generally a goer. In this game of comers and goers, he is not somebody making his way up to the front. Now, granted, this is an incomplete list, but it really didn't seem like there was all that much change in his performance. In a report of the opening 21 races of 2022, he averaged minus 20 positions in the final 10% of races, meaning he lost about a point per race. Now, every round, that's 3 extra points you're losing if that's the case, or in the regular season, that's 26 less points that you would have otherwise on average. What that also means is that in seeding, he's losing bonus points to guys he's closer to. I wouldn't necessarily say that Blaney isn't a closer. He's had 7 wins in his career, and most of them are absolute nail-biter, barn-burner races. In 2017, he beat Kevin Harvick at Harvick's peak at Pocono. In 2018, granted, he got a bit of a lucky win at the Roval, but he had positioned himself up front and third to the point to take advantage of the top 2 taking each other out. 2019 and 2020, he had wins at Talladega, super speedway racing, but he's pretty good with the draft. 2021, well, he had Atlanta, which he beat out Kyle Larson, the best driver all year. He had Michigan, where he held off the field like William Byron. And of course, with the 550 package, though, both those races had a lot to do with dirty air and how to control it. And then in 2021 as well, he won the final race of the regular season at Daytona. You're going to notice a couple things here. Yes, he can close out races in very high-stress scenarios. That is definitely apparent. It's the non-high-stress scenarios that he seems to fail at. And with his wins as well, 3 of the 7 are super speedway races. Now, I respect super speedway racing as a valid form of racing. You notice that the same guys are always up front in those races, always fighting for wins and winning them. But you cannot specialize on 6 races a year and expect to win a championship. No drivers have necessarily specialized on such a small amount of the schedule and gone on to win championships consistently. And especially in this system with only 1 super speedway race in the playoffs, that's not going to help you pass the round of 12, unless, of course, the bonus points you get from it might go to your advantage. A lot of his success has been with good crew chiefs. He had Jeremy Bullins from 2016 to 2019, but it was apparent that he wasn't making the headway necessary for his development, so he got Todd Gordon in 2020 and 2021, and that's where you saw the biggest amount of his success, with one of the best crew chiefs in NASCAR. But after that, with Todd Gordon retiring, Jonathan Hassler came in. Now, Hassler is not a bad crew chief. Actually, he's the crew chief that managed to make Matt DiBenedetto a playoff threat in 2021 after having an egregiously bad start to the season, and he averaged a 15th place finish with DiBenedetto. And while the numbers average finish-wise were not as much higher for Blaney in 2022, I would credit that more to the new car, as most people's average finishes, especially front runners, went down last year. So I think that this is a good pairing for the long term. He's made the round of 8 now 4 times, 2017, 2019, 2021, and 2022. He's now consistently in the round of 8. But the problem is, while he's making round of 8s, his teammate Joey Logano is maximizing the equipment given to them and making championship 4s and winning championships. So, what does Blaney need to do for 2023? Well, he needs to get more wins. He took that step in 2021, but for some reason, they just took another step back this year. That needs to be rectified. It seemed like Blaney had finally figured out the last little bit to being a true championship contender, but it's gone away with this new car. With the information they have now, with Joey Logano as a really good teammate and Austin Cindric coming into his own, there's going to be notes that can be passed around, and he cannot afford to not win races this year. Hassler, like I said, has been very good in the past, and I think both of them together, if they make that next step, can be a viable threat. Also, they need to rebound with consistency. Yes, they were consistent during the season, but finishing less than half the races in the top 10 is not something that's going to get them past a round of 8. So that needs to be fixed as well. And then closing the end of races and getting the full season race winning speed from Ford. Speed throughout is going to be the difference, I think, for Blaney, whether he can be somebody who finishes 9th in points and somebody who's competing for the championship while he's running in the top 5 at Phoenix. Now with that, I'm going to pass it on to you. What do you think of Ryan Blaney going into 2023? Is this a year he's going to take a jump up? Or has he kind of reached his peak and this is just the driver he is? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.